Hey everybody, Vestmore here, and today we're talking Valorant. More specifically, we're going to be answering the question, what exactly goes through those bind teleporters? Now, of course, bind is one of the 3 maps currently available in Valorant, with its most defining feature, the 2 teleporters that allow players to traverse the map very quickly. Now, as well as being able to just walk through these and teleport, you can actually throw certain abilities and items through and actually teleport those. And this can have many applications. You can essentially get abilities across the map that you wouldn't usually be able to and take your enemies off guard. Because of this, we essentially stress test every single ability and ultimate, as well as anything else that would possibly make sense, to find out exactly how they interacted with the teleporters. If you enjoy this video, do be sure to leave a like and let me know down in the comments if you have any teleport strategies of your own. So, going through the characters in alphabetical order, we of course have Breach as our first candidate. And as it turns out, he's actually really disappointing. He doesn't have any abilities that interact with the teleporter whatsoever. No matter what angle we tried, we couldn't get any of his abilities to teleport. However, it is a cool thing to note that at least for the teleporter connecting A short to B short, you can actually just send a fault line or an aftershock through the wall. So while it's not exactly teleporting, you can still hit people who are camping that teleporter room. So that's nice to know. Moving on from there to Brimstone, there are indeed 2 abilities that can go through. First, you have his stim beacon.
Beacon here.
Secondly, and much more useful, is his molly. Depending on how you angle your aim, you can actually land the molly in a variety of places. You can get it inside the teleporter room to flush out anybody who may be camping there. And you can also get it into the entry hallway for hookah, which is super useful for aiding your team by stopping any enemy pushes. Of course, as we guessed, his Sky Smoke and his Orbital Strike both won't be teleported, but if you need to use them, you can use them pretty much map-wide anyway, so
open up the sky! My ult's ready.
Moving on to Cypher, we have some interesting interactions. If you place a tripwire just before the teleport entrance and somebody gets snared in it and then teleports, unfortunately, instead of, whipping them back at light speed, it's just gonna break, which is a bit disappointing. However, this cyber cage is much more interesting. You can of course angle your aim in order to lob one out of the doors, but more interestingly, if you manage to get one by the door, it will actually force them to stay open. And this is the only ability in the game that seems to do this.
Has it not closed yet? Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
Unfortunately, his spy camera cannot be placed in the teleporter, and of course his ultimate requires a body. So that's pretty much out of the question as well. Next up, we have Jett, and Jett's really interesting because her first ability, Cloudburst, her smoke, can actually be teleported. But the interesting part is, of course, you can curve her smoke, meaning with a bit of practice, you could potentially curve a smoke all the way from A short onto B side. That's pretty cool. As for the rest of her kit, however, of course, since they're movement based, the end result will just be Jett teleporting, which is nothing special. As for her ultimate, Bladestorm, unfortunately, since these count as bullets, they too cannot be teleported.
Get out of my way!
Moving on to Omen, he has a similar issue to Breach in that most of his abilities are intangible projectiles that pass through walls.
Shadows traveling.
However, we did discover a really cool tech with his teleportation abilities. First, looking at Shrouded Step, if you manage to activate the ability as you begin to teleport through the teleporter, you'll actually be transported back to the entrance. This is of course incredibly useful because part of the features of the teleporters is that they make a really loud sound, alerting the enemy team to your location. However, with this tech, you can pull a sneaky and make them think you teleported to the other side of the map when you didn't actually do that.
Oh, I actually see you come through and then you teleport back. That's actually sick.
Similarly to Shrouded Step, you can actually do this with From the Shadows, Omen's ult. However, the idea kind of works in reverse this time, as you actually will be teleported away. Moving on to Phoenix, I was actually really surprised by his interactions. His first ability, Blaze, which puts up a firewall, actually travels through. And assuming you're fairly close to the teleporter, you can actually use it as cover to push through the teleporter and into hookah. This is something I've not really seen any Phoenix attempt before, so maybe it could be useful for you if you main him. His next ability, Curveball, also goes through, and assuming you position yourself correctly to the side, like so, any enemy camping the teleporter doesn't actually have much time to react to the flash, meaning you can push in and secure the kill. His third ability, Hot Hands, is very similar to Brimstone's Molly, where you can utilize the teleporter in order to help stop pushes, as well as cook anybody who's trying to camp the teleporter room. While his ultimate doesn't affect the teleporter in any way, it's good to know that if you do teleport and, it ends, you will of course be transported back, no problem. Moving on from there, we have Raze. Now, Raze is fairly unique in that every single one of her abilities, including her ultimate, actually interacts with the teleporter in some way. Her satchel charges go through no problem. The same can be said about her cluster grenades, and these are incredibly potent, especially when you don't know they're coming. So using them with the teleporter is a really easy way to pick up unsuspecting kills. Depending on how you position, you can actually cause her boombot to either enter hookah and clear that, or clear the teleporter room. And you'll be happy to know that her rocket launcher is just as deadly after breaking the laws of space and time. Moving on to Sage, her barrier orb of course doesn't teleport, that would be silly. However, her slow orb certainly does, and once again this can be really useful for denying pushes into hookah, as well as completely covering the teleporter room, isolating anybody who's in there. Next up, we have Sova. Sending his owl drone through the teleporter can be really useful for distracting enemies as well as scouting out the other half of the map, since with its limited duration, ordinarily it can only go so far. Both his shock and recon bolts can be used to great effect as well. But of course, since his ultimate can go through walls, much like Omen, it doesn't interact with the teleporter.
Run!
And finally, we have Viper. Much like Phoenix and Brimstone's Molotovs, her snakebite ability is capable of denying pushes, or uprooting anybody who's decided to camp out in the room. Her Poison Cloud ability can also be launched through in order to deny vision. And similarly to Phoenix's wall, she can actually launch her own toxic screen through. And this actually spans long enough in order to cut hookah in half. Unfortunately, no matter how many times we tried, we couldn't get her ultimate, Viper's Pit, to go through the teleporter.
Welcome to my world!
Now, that's it for the characters. However, there are a couple other things that we tested just to make sure we were as thorough as possible. We tested shooting at the portal, and unfortunately, regardless of what gun we used, regardless of the penetration, we even tried using the operator, none of the bullets went through. However, we did find that it's possible to teleport dropped guns, as well as the spike.
I've got the spike.
So, that about wraps it up. Hopefully we've answered any burning questions you guys had about the teleporter mechanics, as well as got you thinking about how you can use your newfound knowledge to your advantage. Anyway, that's it from me. This is Vest, signing off.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there if you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with. It's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.